everyone. Welcome back to the Be More podcast, where we inspire you to be a little bit more of every role within the Salesforce ecosystem and beyond. For today's session, we are exploring user adoption and what it means to kind of be a guru of user adoption. And I'm joined today by Kristian. So if you could introduce yourself to our audience, please.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tom. And thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. My name is Kristian. I'm co-founder of GoElephant, the adoption app for Salesforce, which is launching soon, in about a month, a bit more. So I'm also the founder and group leader of the Salesforce Architect Group in Copenhagen, and author of the Salesforce End-to-End Implementation Handbook, which came out last year. I've been doing Salesforce for about 10 years. First, two companies that were implementing Salesforce. So I was in-house, you could say, on the customer side. Did a lot of user training and created a bunch of reports and dashboards. And then I had 7 years in consulting after that. And today I'll humbly assume the role and speak about being an adoption guru.
Awesome. Well, that's great. And I'm glad to have you on the podcast. I've seen you in and around the community for a while. So I feel like it was only a matter of time before we did something together. And I'm really looking forward to diving into adoption because I'm pretty sure I've got a thing or two to learn here myself. So let's take that as a role, adoption guru. How would you quantify that for our audience?
Yeah. So I'll just start by saying, so I am a co-founder of a startup, and that role is extremely multifaceted and fast-paced, which I love, I have to say. So it's essentially like leading a big change initiative, similar to driving change in a Salesforce program. So we're trying to help people change places or adoption gurus to see a better way of driving adoption and becoming adoption gurus. And why is that important? Well, the companies I've seen have the most success in their Salesforce program are the ones that have someone dedicated to driving adoption. And that's typically, now we're probably getting to the answer to your question.
Yeah.
It's typically someone who has the title of a change manager, business change manager, transformation manager.
Mm-hmm.
But driving adoption could also be someone else's responsibility, like the head of the Salesforce program, CX director, product owner, project manager, or the awesome business analysts out there that are also engaging with users and the business, so to say, on a daily.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, I think that's important to remember because there are certainly some organizations where maybe the Salesforce admin is wearing all of those hats, or other larger organizations, kind of enterprise scale or size companies where maybe they have a whole team for that, which some people could only dream of. So I think that's great in kind of drawing the line. So thinking about this, as somebody that's interested in driving adoption and improving it, what type of roles would you traditionally work with to, I guess, understand the pain points and maybe what's holding the current user adoption back? What type of people would be involved there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think an adoption guru has to love spending time with people who are using Salesforce, like the sales and customer service reps, to understand, as you say, their daily lives and their pain points. So they know how Salesforce could help make their lives easier and job better and help them be more successful. Essentially, they're selling a product, Salesforce, for them to use, right? Engaging with managers and leadership is also important to get buy-in and support and promotion for Salesforce. And having this duo with a change manager and someone who is heading up the Salesforce program or product owner is really a great partnership as they go out and talk to the business and do trainings and all of the great stuff that happens when you drive change. Maybe one other thought is, we talk a lot about shifting left in development methodologies, like clarify requirements, talk to users before, define test cases, and so on before starting building stuff, right? So we make sure we're building the right it and so on. And I think the same should be done for assessing the scale of change of whatever the new feature or project will introduce for the end users, right? And the bigger the change, the bigger the ongoing effort to drive that adoption. So in a sense, the change manager should also be involved with the development team to some extent, right?
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And I guess it depends on context, right? Like if it's a brand new Salesforce org as opposed to a Salesforce org that's been up and running for 10 years, and maybe, unfortunately, there's some people with some misconceptions about what it does or doesn't do very well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a different type of challenge, but it's an ongoing one, right? It's not a one and done. Okay,
Right.
we nailed adoption, check. Because there's always going to be new changes coming out and new ways of working and new features and changes to the organization and many things that can, it's a fragile system to keep people engaged, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think, at least from what I've seen with being involved in lots of different Salesforce implementations, adoption can ultimately make or break the success of a system. Right? I've seen this. If people are very resistant to a system, perhaps unfortunately, maybe it's taking some jobs or
Mhm.
that type of thing
Yeah.
happening, people are going to pull back from it and not be as engaged to perhaps think about other things like, how can this help me? How can this automate some of the things that I did manually before, or some other things like that? So I think it's really important role. And maybe thinking now of somebody that's working as an adoption guru, is this person working in that role or function full time? Or do they perhaps have other responsibilities? What do you see from your point of view?
Yeah. I mean, we touched on this a little bit already, right? So
Mm.
the companies I've seen be most successful with their Salesforce programs have someone who is dedicated. That's their only job to drive this change and drive adoption. But many smaller or medium-sized companies don't have the luxury or budget to have organizational change management experts or transformation managers, right? So in those programs, it'll fall on other people like the awesome admin, the
Yeah.
business analyst, product owner, and yeah. What's your experience? What have you seen?
Yeah, I think it does, as you say, it does really vary based on the size of the organization. Like some of the organizations that I'm working with at the moment have 5 users, right? And that's it. So that's a very different story to a different organization that I'm working with or have worked with recently that has like 600 users.
Yeah,
So
there's no
it does.
excuse for not involving the users in the development process there, right?
No, no. But I mean, the team of 5 users are perhaps more involved or close than a team of 600 users because the 5 users are kind of owners of different parts of the system. So I think it does depend, but there is also that piece of just kind of getting people into Salesforce and familiar with Salesforce as well. Like from your point of view, what size of client that kind of comes to you with an adoption kind of shaped problem? Is that a bigger client or a smaller client? What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a small company, 5, 10, 20
Oh,
people using Salesforce and probably co-working at the same office or something like that, you can talk at the coffee machine or
yeah.
it's not that difficult to get feedback and how's it going, right? Probably, I think it's around maybe 100, 200. Like that's a band of people that we as humans can comprehend to
Huh?
know what's going
Yeah.
on and how they're doing, and that you can keep up to date with. And then, of course, if you go beyond that to 500 or 1,000 or 5,000, then if you're like in this group function, the Salesforce program, and you have a global organization, many different regions, it gets really hard to drive that adoption without having like a cockpit or a way of understanding how is adoption actually going. And you desperately need someone dedicated to driving and understanding adoption. If no one is, there's a high risk that the adoption will be low, and that's a risk to the program and bad for the overall business case. And Bad.
Yeah, not good. We only follow the happy path. We don't like going down the sad path or the unsuccessful path. And maybe is part of it, and I'm going to kind of throw in an additional question now, but when you're talking to like executives that are giving their endorsement or sponsorship like of a system, are they the type of people that will come to you and say, we want to improve user adoption by 10% or something? Is it done kind of at that level, or again, does it really vary on the type of organization?
It depends.
Yeah.
But it's really comes down to who is responsible for adoption, and it's something that's it's a little tricky. It's typically an elephant in the room,
Yeah.
because how do you measure and quantify and define adoption? Is it logins? Okay, cool. We got that out of the box. We can see who logged in the last 30 days. Well, what does that tell us, right? So it's typically the CX director, head of the Salesforce program, who is curious, at least the ambitious ones, right? To actually want to know, how is my program doing? Beyond being able to say, what are the new releases coming out? To talk about that in the steerco. And the change manager, if there is one, is definitely the one who is like, okay, I need to be able to understand how it's going so I can prioritize what to do.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And I can definitely hear that you've been in consultancy, maybe for a little bit too long, because the traditional answer, it depends, came out straight away. I get it.
I'm on a detox. So
yeah. Maybe we're going to fine you $1 each time you say it depends. We'll see. Yeah. Okay. So now thinking about this, somebody that's listening to this and perhaps they're inspired to try it out themselves, like to become an adoption guru. What tips, advice would you give to that person? Like, are there any particular things that helped you get started? Like, you've mentioned the elephant in the room already, but how did you realize there was an elephant in the room to start off with, right?
Yeah. Okay, so maybe that one first and then the advice bit after. So I realized it by seeing in consulting and before that at companies that were using Salesforce that it's done in many different ways, defining and measuring adoption. So, and I thought, okay, there must be a better way to holistically define what is adoption. Maybe it varies slightly, but there should be a common baseline that we can all agree on, that it should have something to do with logins, which is basic, fundamental, but it's a starting point, something around usage, but then critically, how do the users feel about the system? And that's typically often overlooked or not done very often, asking users how they feel about Salesforce. And if you don't have that, which is a big indicator of the resistance to change that you were talking about, right? How do you actually know what parts of the organization is struggling and need more or support, right? So, yeah. So the advice for someone who wants to embark on this exciting journey would be, your time is limited and scarce. So it's so important that the efforts that you choose to do to drive adoption, whether it's going to a team and talking about what's holding you back and what are your struggles, what do you need more training, or manager enablement for that team or country. So you need to make sure what you do has the biggest impact. So to do that, you need to understand, how is adoption going across the organization? How does it vary? So you can start where you have the biggest problem and the biggest potential for improvement, right?
Yeah.
I think another key point is to look at adoption holistically, right? So it's beyond logins, and we talked a little bit about this. So the key point would be, get feedback and do it regularly, depending on where your company is on its journey. I recommend at least quarterly, but tune it into how often you make changes on Salesforce, right?
Okay.
And the activities you're doing to drive adoption. So yeah, start where you are. Use what you have, do what you can is the motto I really enjoy. And yeah, it's a journey, it's not a one-off activity. So keep growing.
Okay, awesome. And what type of tools or features do Salesforce do that can help you address some of those challenges or to gather feedback from your users, for example? What have you seen that works elsewhere?
Yeah. Um, so I think there is some things that Salesforce has out of the box, and then there is stuff you can do which isn't on the platform, but it doesn't really matter what tool you're using. It's about, are you getting the help and insights you need to be able to drive adoption, right? So I think if it's a small company, few users, talk to people. That's the easiest part, right?
Yeah.
Uh, uh, Maybe use Salesforce Labs adoption dashboards, which is free. It tells you who logged in the last 30 days. So if you're a smaller company, I think those two are fine. If you are more enterprisey, you'll probably struggle with that. So maybe you have super user champion groups. They come in different names for different business units or regions or countries. And then you talk to them based on what they've heard from their end users. So it's not really ideal, but it's better than not hearing anything in terms of feedback. Or you could do SurveyMonkey surveys that you prepare, questions, send out, look at that. That's sort of the options that you have available at the moment. But curious to see if you've heard other stuff. Of course, you can build your own dashboards to see some activities that are being done by different teams.
Yeah, I think from my own experience, just to kind of add to that, Salesforce Labs, I think they have that clean your room dashboard as well, which is certainly good for potentially maybe this isn't the right behavior that we want to encourage, but pulling up sales reps that need to clean up their opportunities or update their deals. I think other things that I've seen that have worked quite well is the use of in-app guidance when it comes to describing particular business processes. It can be something like, oh, we've just introduced an email opt-out field and what that means, and that can open up on the record that the field has been added to. Or it can also be as fully fledged as a step-by-step. This is how to create a lead. This is what you put in the lead source. This is what you put in the email address box. This is why it's required. So have you seen that in a couple of places? I certainly have.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of those apps like WalkMe, Spec-It. There are a couple others, and I'm big fan. So if your company has it or is looking for something like that for the execution part to enable the user in the context of what they're doing, I think those are absolutely great.
Yeah, and I think maybe just to clarify, like Salesforce does have its own offering here. It's kind of a, how do you describe it? Premium model where you get a certain amount with the licenses, and if you want more, then you need particular licenses to do that. Like you only get a certain number of walkthroughs or prompts. But I think apologies for anybody that's ever worked in an org where I've been. You've probably got a video that comes up with my voice and maybe not my face, but definitely my voice that will come up when you're creating content to tell you what to do and how to do it. I think that's really effective because it's then like tailored to their business process as well.
Yeah.
Especially if they've got like other managed packages or things in there. So yeah, I think that's great. So moving on a little bit, but you've been on your own journey, I guess, as an adoption guru. And now if you were to have an opportunity to start that journey again, is there anything that you would change or do differently, do you think?
Yeah, good question. I would actually start by trying to do the job of the people we're trying to serve with our Salesforce applications, like actually do their job. If it's
Yeah.
a service cloud, you know, be on the phone, take calls, hopefully with some guidance or with someone that who actually knows what they're doing, or at least spend time side by side with them or the salespeople. It's so critical to drive change that we know what parts of their jobs would benefit immensely from using Salesforce, what's in it for them, as it's called, right? I actually think I'd recommend doing this for all roles in the Salesforce program, not just the change blazer or adoption guru.
Yeah, I think, and it's kind of about as you describe it, putting yourself in the shoes of that person, but also feeling some of the emotions or challenges that that person has on the empathy type level, right? Trying to understand, I guess, what's going on there. Do you think that's a fair summary as well?
Absolutely. And yeah, empathy, keyword.
Yeah, yeah. It's about active listening and empathy. I think those are the keys there. So thinking about this now, and I know we touched a little bit on tips advice already, but kind of going back in that direction, if there were like personality attributes or skills you would use to describe an adoption guru, what type of words or phrases come to mind, do you think?
Empathy.
Yeah.
um, no, no, really. You have to turn it way, way up, right? So
Mm,
you, it's yeah, whether you're engaging with end users, the frontline people who are the users of Salesforce, or whatever other stakeholders, whether it's managers or leadership, to get their buy-in and to set expectations for what you're asking of them and how Salesforce and promoting that fits into their hundreds of other priorities, right? Or if you're engaging with the development team members and product owners, they have other priorities and goals they have to balance. So if you come with this intent of, hey, I really want to understand what's going on in your life and how can we bridge the need and change and resistance to change from the organization that is to use what we're spending all this time building,
yeah.
uh, that I think that's really key. Another one, maybe it's generic, but you have to be really, really good at prioritizing of what to do because there's always going to be a team which is lagging behind for different reasons, like teams were merged, new joiners, new managers or leadership, or there could be so many different reasons why a team is lacking or needs help, and then they will need more help and training and enablement.
Yeah.
So yeah, just have to balance and be okay with there's always something to do.
And I think, do you think having a business analyst mindset helps as well? Basically, I guess trying to get to the root of why, right?
Yeah, yeah, 100%, and that's with the empathy, right? So
Yeah.
it's not showing up and saying, "Hey, your adoption is low, but do better." It's
Yeah.
what what's been going on in your team? How are you doing? What other things are going on? You also have to learn a new product series that you have to learn how to sell and who to target, or you have new leadership and there's another training session going on for SAP, or there could be so many things that are the reasons why, as you say.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, I think that's great. And it's about diving in, I guess, underneath what you see, not judging it by the cover, but trying to go into the detail and understand, okay, well, why are you doing this? And how does that make you feel? And could you be doing this better? And all of those things. So yeah, I think that's great. So now thinking about this as somebody that's listening to this, and maybe they're thinking, okay, adoption as a result, I don't know, I can just install those dashboards from Salesforce Labs and adoption is fixed, right? Are there any misconceptions that people have that you'd like to take an opportunity to just kind of clarify or demyth? So
Yeah,
just yeah,
yeah. I think it is that you have to go beyond plugins because that'll only
yeah,
tell you so much. You really have to think about it adoption holistically, and the key part is feedback from users. It's just so key, and it's difficult to do at scale or at an enterprise level, but it's so key. And if you ask for it, you're also showing the organization that you actually care. I mean, that's the essence of asking for feedback. You're doing it because you want to learn and improve. So yeah,
yeah, definitely listening, asking for feedback, and I think just being open to feedback as well, like because ultimately people aren't going to think the same as what you think. right? And that's fine. That's absolutely valid, and that's okay. Just because you have feedback doesn't mean you have to act on all of it. I guess it's down to you to decide which feedback, and we touched on this a little bit already about prioritization. Do you prioritize first? Perhaps it's having the biggest impact or has the biggest potential for like an ROI. Yeah, I think that's great. Okay, so we are kind of bringing the session towards a close for today, but before we do go, how can people connect with you, and are there particular pieces of content or resources that have helped you that you think might help others in this space as well?
Oh, do I get the brownie points if I say the Be More podcast?
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, there are only virtual brownie points, so you have
Okay.
to make do with those.
All right. Yeah. So I'm mostly active on LinkedIn. So follow, connect. I love to hear people's stories and their journeys. And if I can be helpful in any way, I'm always there just to message away. Content that's helped me. So it's another podcast. I wouldn't say it's competing as such, but it's a Lenny's podcast. So it's more generic around product management. But I think the whole product management mindset, which started many years ago, and then Marty Kagan made it into a thing. And I think the Salesforce ecosystem could learn a lot from it, that we consider our users as our customers of our products, which are the Salesforce solutions that we build, and getting this feedback. So Lenny's podcast together with Be More would be my recommendation.
Okay. Well, I'm glad there was no bribery there for you to say the Be More podcast. So I'm glad of that. And yeah, people can reach out to you. They can find you on LinkedIn and connect to discuss more. So that's great. Well, thanks again for your time today. And hopefully we inspire some more adoption gurus of our own within the Salesforce ecosystem, and kind of, I guess, demyth some of those things and make systems better for and I love what you just said, for our customers, which in this case, they're the users, right? They're your customers. So I think you're serving them, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks again for your time today.
Thank you, Tom. Great being here.